On today's episode, I'm joined by Chris from DCL Cruising Dad as we dive into his recent 7-night Western Caribbean sailing aboard the brand new Disney Treasure. From Cozumel to Grand Cayman to Castaway Cay, Chris breaks down everything from stateroom decor and standout meals to onboard entertainment, themed lounges, and unforgettable cast member moments. And this is part 2. Today is April 15th, 2025, and this is episode 763 of the Main Street Magic Podcast.
Jeremy and Rhonda are more than a little fond of Disney World, so they made this podcast to share it all with you. Reports and resorts, top 10 lists of all sorts, Main Street Magic's bringing it home for you.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Main Street Magic. I'm your host, Jeremy Stein, and while Rhonda won't be joining me today, I will soon be joined by Disney Cruise Line expert Chris from DCL Cruising Dad for an incredible trip report from the brand new Disney Treasure. But first, be sure to check us out online at mainstmagic.com and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at mainstmagic. If you want to be a part of the conversation and catch our live streams from the parks and resorts, just head to Facebook and search for the Main Street Magic community and ask to join. And then don't forget to subscribe to the show so you never miss an episode. New ones drop every Tuesday and Friday. If you're planning a trip to Walt Disney World or Disneyland, it can be overwhelming, especially when it comes to dining reservations. That's where Mouse Dining comes in. This free service alerts you when your desired restaurant, date, meal, and time become available. Visit msmfriends.com to get started and take the stress out of Disney dining. Let MEI-Travel help you chart the perfect course aboard any Disney Cruise Line ship, including the all-new Disney Treasure, Disney's most magical ship yet. From immersive dining and world-class entertainment to unforgettable destinations across the Caribbean and beyond, it's more than a cruise, it's a floating kingdom of magic and memories. Whether it's your very first voyage or you're a proud Castaway Club Pearl member, our expert travel advisor Amy at MEI-Travel will take care of every detail so you can focus on the fun, the food, and the pixie dust. Visit mainstmagic.com/travel today to book your next Disney Cruise Line vacation and get ready to uncover the treasure waiting at sea. So today, I'm very excited to be joined by Chris, the voice behind DCL Cruising Dad, a go-to resource for all things Disney Cruise Line. From expert planning tips to ship-specific secrets and onboard must-dos, Chris shares his passion for cruising, the magic of Disney at sea, and how his family adventures sparked a platform that now helps thousands of cruisers set sail with confidence. Whether you're a first-time cruiser or a Castaway Club veteran, you'll walk away with practical advice, insider insight, and a whole lot of cruise day excitement. Let's welcome Chris to the Main Street Magic Podcast. So your next day, it's your day 3, and you're at your first port in Cozumel, Mexico. What do you do mornings when you get to the port, and then what does your day look like? Do you typically get off the ship for the full day, or what do you guys like to do?
Yep. So as far as breakfast, we're pretty consistent no matter if we're in port or if it's a sea day. The night before, there will be a little continental breakfast tag that I'll order some coffee, some cereal, some fruit for all of us to enjoy while we're waking up. And I'll then run up to Marceline Market or Cabanas, the buffet, and basically get two plates of some eggs, some hash browns, little hot breakfast, and then we'll all eat breakfast together in the room or on our veranda. And that's what happens basically every day. I know exactly what everyone wants, makes it super easy. As far as Cozumel and port days, so for this sailing, we have 4 stops. We have Cozumel, Grand Cayman, Falmouth, Jamaica, and then Castaway. Mm-hmm. With the 3 port days in a row, at first we had 3 port adventures booked, but the last minute before we sailed, we decided to postpone or cancel the Falmouth one, which was the last one, for a couple reasons. Is 3 consecutive port days in a row quite tiring. Mm-hmm. And second, just in case we really wanted to spend more time exploring the ship, there was a chance with it being a port day, it'd be a little quieter.
Yeah.
For all of our sailings, we've always booked port adventures through Disney. We do that for a couple reasons, is Disney vets the excursions, and also there's always a guarantee that you'll make the ship.
Yeah,
So whether whether they will hold the ship, which most likely they might not. They'll get you to the next port,
Yeah.
whether it's flying or bus or something like that. But booking through Disney, there is always that guarantee. Now, some other Viator or TripAdvisors, they do offer that guarantee. Also, just make sure you read the contract if you do book a port excursion out of Disney. Now, the port adventure that I booked for Cozumel, I kept hidden from my family. I was very excited. It was the first thing I booked as soon as my booking window opened. And this was in a Alabreje painting workshop inspired by Disney Pixar's Coco. And just for reference, if you need to write down something, it's CZ95. When you look up Port Adventures, there's always a short little code that I like to let people know on
Mhm.
podcasts and stuff like that. That way they could find it a lot easier just in case the name does change. So this is basically a 4.5 hour port excursion. We met at Worlds of Marvel at 8:30, 9 o'clock. We were off the ship. And then we had a short bus ride to basically the location where we were going to do these paintings. What was awesome. So the reason why I booked this painting is this excursion is I heard great things about it on other podcasts. And all those people were 100% correct. There was only 18 people on this excursion,
Oh, wow.
including the four of us. When we got to the location, we got a little tour, and then we went into the air-conditioned room where we learned about the different type of spirit animals. There was a little video we watched, and our tour guide, who was with us the entire day, did an outstanding job explaining and answering all of our questions. Really went to great details. So in this room, it was decorated all the bright colors, and then there was about 10 to 15 different animals that we could paint. And what was nice about this was all of the animals already had a base coat, so we didn't have to spend time painting the animal itself. We just added the accents to it. Fun fact I learned during this was the more colors you have on your Alabrae, the more powerful your spirit animal is. So we start with the black and white paint to learn how to practice and do the eyes. And then they go around and add 2 or 3 colors to your section. You ask for more. And 45 minutes later, we're all done with our spirit animals. We
Wow.
then leave them there. They place them on the air conditioner to fully dry and then wrap them up for us to bring home. Something like that, I never ever recommend putting in any luggage. We
Mhm.
physically carried them home on the airplane,
Yeah.
and they made it home safely and are now in our living room. Awesome, awesome little core memory for us to always look back on that sailing. After we were done painting, there was a gift shop that we got to explore, and also a little taco stand if any of us were hungry for a snack. And then the second half of the port adventure, we went to the Mayan Cacao Company, where we took a walking tour with the same guide and talked about Mayan culture and then talked about cacao or chocolate making. We watched a short video on that and then got to sample some chocolate and head off to the gift shop where we bought a good amount of chocolate to bring home for our family and friends. So both of those excursions, or I guess the adventures, was all one. And then we headed back to the ship just in time for lunch. One thing that I do recommend, if you have someone on your port adventure that makes your day special, make sure you give them a tip or
Mhm.
thank them for their time. Our tour guide here was outstanding, and I highly recommend this port adventure.
Awesome. That sounds incredible. So you've done the port adventures there. You're back on the ship, I take it, you said, for
Mhm.
lunch. What
Yep.
does the rest of the afternoon and evening look like at that point for you?
Yeah, at that point, we're just honestly resting in the room,
Yeah, I bet.
kind of relaxing, putting our feet up. Maybe we went and walked around a little more, but I think we just threw a movie on in the room and just relaxed. Probably ordered a nice afternoon coffee carafe to come to the room. Maybe got some milk and cookies for Brooklyn. Also on in room service. While we talk about it real quick, room
Yes.
service is included on your sailing. There are some items on the menu that is not included, such as canned sodas or bottles of water. As far as food and everything, it is included. Just please give the server a tip
Mhm.
because they don't The ones that deliver the food are included in the gratuities that you pay for. So please bring some cash, or they will have a receipt where you can add a tip to. And also, lastly, Mickey ice cream bars are not listed on room service, but they can always be ordered no matter any time of the day.
Yes.
So, and the coffee craft is so good that you could actually get coffee the night before and it'll still be warm the next morning. Put the creamer or your milk in the little refrigerator that's in your room. That we've learned to actually use on debarkation morning.
Yeah.
We'll order coffee the night before and then have coffee in the room the morning while we're getting off the ship. So what was fun about this day is we're in Cozumel, Mexico, and then boom, I got lucky, and this is our first night in Plaza de Coco.
Nice.
So we were super, super excited for this. One thing I recommend if the family is not familiar with the movie, throw it on the TV while you guys are getting changed. It's a great refresher. Remember all the characters. The first night is basically a continuation of the movie. So you get to meet all the characters, Hector and a few others, and you also get to meet the mariachi band that plays music during both the nights. As far as first impressions, there's a very long hallway you walk down to get into Plaza de Coco that is highly decorated with awesome memorabilia and items from the movie. So whether you take some time before or after your dinner, make sure you look, explore, so many great little Easter eggs. And then once you get right into the restaurant, there's a beautiful ofrenda that has so many nods to the movie and some other little nods to other things that are also on there. One big difference between Arendelle on the Wish and Plaza de Coco on the Treasure is they reorganized the room a little. So now the tables are longer and thinner. So some of the changes comparing the Arendelle on the Wish and Plaza de Coco on the Treasure is the tables are long, and also the serving areas where the staff would go and basically break down the food has now been moved to the outside area. So there really is no bad seat in the house. There is a couple trees that maybe minimize or block some of the view, but there's a lot less than it is in Arendelle. As far as our seat, we were located all the way in the back by the bar, so we didn't have the best seat in the house, but what was nice was I felt like the volume of the music was perfect for that area because I was still able to talk to Sarah and Brooklyn during that dinner. To start that dinner, there was a lot of fun. A lot of people ordering drinks. The bar was hopping that night. Everyone getting to try the Mexican sodas, all the different beverages. We got a glow in the dark or light up skull sipper. They had a cool little Dante straw. So we really went and bought a couple things for that night.
Yeah.
Very excited to get to try. As far as the food, I thought the food was outstanding. Nothing beats starting your dinner with a great plate of chips and salsa. As far as my favorite for this was a chorizo street croquette that I probably could have eaten 5 to 10 of these little croquettes. Absolutely delicious. And then also there was a goat cheese and beet tower, which I know beets, yeah, but the tanginess of the goat cheese paired very well with the beets. There was actually none of that appetizer left after. Both my wife and I were shocked how delicious that was.
Yeah.
As far as the entrees, we tried a couple different ones. There was a butternut squash enchilada that was delicious. And then there was a polo asada that we also enjoyed. Overall, I thought the spice and flavor level was good. A lot of times, food on Disney Cruise Line, I don't want to use the word bland, but it's not seasoned extremely well. The seasoning is left up to you, where I felt like here, they definitely took it up a level, and there was definitely some spice and some enjoyment. As far as the desserts, there was a warm coconut tres leches that was outstanding. And then anything that's coffee. I'm a huge coffee lover, so I see the word cappuccino, and yes. So there was actually a sugar-free Mama Coco's coffee creme That was basically a mascarpone espresso dessert that I thought was outstanding.
Oh, wow.
Really, overall, amazing meal. I was so excited to get to experience the mariachi band and the food there for the first time. Really, just a lot of fun. I love the little dinner and a show
Yeah.
theater kind of feel to Plaza de Coco on the Treasure.
Yeah. Before we get on to your evening entertainment there, because I know some people might not be familiar with the first and second seating. So you just go over how that works on the cruise line, and is there one that you particularly prefer?
Yep. So there's two. So Disney, as far as restaurants and eating, they do what's called rotational dining. So the staff, whether it's your head server, your server, and your assistant server, will travel with you to all three main dining restaurants. As far as the Treasure, you have 1923, Worlds of Marvel, and Plaza de Coco. When you are booking the sailing, there will be two options. Originally, they used to be called main and second. Now they're just called by the time. So it's 5:45 dining and 8:15 dining. And the reason why there's two dining is it also offsets the entertainment time. While you have your first dining or your 5:45, you go to your show after. And then if you have the late dining or the 8:15 dining, you go to the Broadway show or the evening entertainment before. Now, a lot of times this will come into effect when you have long port days. So let's say you're in Europe or you're in Alaska where you're doing these very long port excursions and main dining or first dining 5:45, you might not make it back in time for that dining. So a lot of times in those type of sailings, you would look towards doing late dining. The other idea is 5:45 dining is great. It's typically filled with a lot more kids. So if your kids are teenagers or it's just you and your spouse dining, you might want to go to second dining or 8:15 dining because it's going to be a lot quieter. Now, when you sign up for or you select your dining time, if the one is not available, you can ask Disney Cruise Line or your travel agent to put you on the wait list. So let's say you really have some young kids and unfortunately you booked last minute and you can't get the main dining. So what do? You join that wait list, and if you don't get the email before you step on the ship on embarkation day, there's going to be a location on the ship for dining changes, whether that's adding a adult dining reservation, changing some of the allergy requirements, or possibly changing your dining time. So one person in the stateroom or in the family is going to want to get there as soon as you get on the ship to again ask to see if you could be put into that dining. Now, most of the times that we've had second dining and requested main dining, have been lucky and have gotten moved to main dining before we've got on the cruise. You'll get an email, and you would also see it on the Disney Cruise Line under your reservation, which dining you have been assigned. So those are a couple of different ideas of why you would pick one dining over the other and how to change if you don't get the dining that you want.
Perfect. Yeah. Thank you for covering that. All right. So after dinner, this was the evening that you got to see Tale of Moana, correct?
Oh, yes.
How was that?
Oh, yes, we did.
I can't wait to hear about this.
It lived up to its hype. It was outstanding. And before, I saw a lot of photos with how long the line was to get in. I was really hoping that the line wouldn't be long by going the second night. And lo and behold, we turned the corner and the line is all the way down to where Skipper Society is. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. We're all together. We're going to get there. We're going to get a seat. Might not be the best seat, but it still, it is definitely a do not miss.
Okay.
Definitely do not miss. The stage itself has all this custom bamboo that on the stage that they cut and made it super spectacular. A lot of times where there's interactions with stuff either on the ceiling or on the perimeter of the stage that you definitely want to try to get seats down below so you could look up and feel like you're part of the production. As far as the production itself, they did an amazing job getting as many Pacific Islanders to make you feel like it's extremely authentic. The Grandma Tali did an outstanding job, and Moana herself stole the show. She was breathtaking. voice was amazing. She starts out young as a little puppet, and then before you know it, she's full-blown Moana on the boat, on the stage, getting to meet Maui. And Maui is an awesome character because he reminds me of the genie in Aladdin on other cruise, on other Disney ships, because the genie gets to write funny jokes and gets to put a spin on the genie himself during the shows. And I felt like that's exactly what Moana and exactly what Maui does. He is not like The Rock at all in the movies. Very different, puts his own spin on it. And it's a lot of fun to get to know Maui as the show goes on. And lastly, the 15-foot Tafiti puppet is just breathtaking. I learned from the documentary on Disney Plus, Making the Treasure. Highly recommended if anyone's going on the treasure and wants to learn of some Easter eggs, that it takes 4 full actor or actresses to move the puppet around. The puppet does some awesome stuff at the end. I don't want to spoil it all, but really was breathtaking. And I agree with everyone out there that says this needs to be on Broadway. It is an outstanding show.
Yeah.
Really did an amazing job.
That's what I was so shocked by, and I'd heard a lot about the shows on the Disney Cruise Line, but to actually see them, they're at that Broadway level. I think that's something a lot of people don't realize until they get to see them. It's not just like a second-rate show that they're putting on this ship. It is full production as though you were seeing it on Broadway. So I can't wait to eventually see that one. So we'll move on to your next day. Your next port is Georgetown, Grand Cayman. Talk a little bit about that. As you said, you booked excursions for each day. Was there another one this day then that you guys went and took advantage of?
Yes, that one was called the Exclusive Sneak Peek to Grand Cayman Highlights. That's a G79 for the quick code out there. And this was another 4 to 5 hour tour with multiple stops. Now, Grand Cayman is a tender port. So what that basically means is the ship is not going to be able to pull up directly to the port. From your ship, you take a smaller ship to actually get to the port. Therefore, a lot of those port excursions will be starting later in the day. So ours didn't start till around 10:30, which was good because lunch was included on this port adventure. Therefore, good idea is see what time the port adventures are going, because you might want to look at booking one that has lunch included, or at least somewhere that you could purchase lunch, and make sure to bring cash or credit cards. So this port adventure involved a couple different stops. One of the first stops was a oceanside blowhole that basically we all got to get off the bus and see the way different waves hit it, and getting to see it explode the ocean water up in the air, trying to get that awesome photo when the water is at its highest. We got to stay there for about 15-20 minutes. Again, one thing that was outstanding about this port adventure was Nick, our tour guide, huge knowledge wealth, talked so much about Grand Cayman Island itself, about how there's 800 banks on the island, talked about some of the island pre and post Hurricane Ivan. So for example, there was 2 massive chicken farms on the island after the hurricane. All those chickens got out. So now there's 84,000 chickens roaming on the island randomly, wild chickens. You see them everywhere. Another fun fact is there's one fast food restaurant that's not on the island. And spoiler alert, that is McDonald's. And the reason why is there is a family restaurant that has a very similar name, and McDonald's required them to change their name, and they basically said no. And McDonald's has been never invited back to make it on the island. There's a good amount of fast food places. And one thing that was ironic about this, to fast forward to the end of the excursion, we had a Canadian family, and there's a Tim Hortons that just opened up on the island, and they begged, and we stopped and all got coffee and donuts on the way back to the ship. It was a very fun way to end our port day.
Yeah. So how is it? How's Tim Hortons coffee? Because you said you're a coffee guy. I've never had it.
I thought it was pretty good. We got a couple donut holes and bought the driver a couple donuts, and my wife and I split a coffee. Now, her and I coffee tastes are very different. She's super light, super sweet, and I just put a splash of some type of creamer in it with no sweetener. So a lot of times we'll meet in the middle. So the coffee was good. but I was just excited to also have a homemade donut too.
Oh
So
yeah.
that was a fun stop. And I don't think I've ever been to I might have been to a Tim Hortons once, but growing up in the Northeast, I'm a huge Dunkin' fan.
Yeah, of course.
But so after our first stop, we got back on the bus, and I would say there probably was about 30 people on our bus. We all were broken down into groups, so there might have been a couple different buses taking people to different stops at different times. So the order that we went on might be different if you were on, say, the second bus, where we all didn't travel together. After that, we stopped for lunch. It was the Eastern Starfish Bar. When we got there, it was pouring rain. And one thing that was really nice was Disney was actually handing out ponchos when we were getting off the ship. So typically they'll have a towel table for you to grab towels to bring on your excursion, then bring back. They actually had ponchos in these small little bags. Just I guess they give that out at the parks, which I thought was a huge plus and a real nice help for us during the excursion. So when we got to this bar, we got some seats outside, bar/restaurant, and they had two food entrees. There was a chicken with rice and beans and a pasta side, and fish lightly fried with rice, beans, and a pasta side. We got one of each to try, and then there was lemonade and iced tea, and then there were alcoholic drinks that you could pay for additionally. And let me tell you, this food was outstanding. The rice and beans, you could tell that this was made in someone's kitchen and just brought to the bar. The rice and beans were flavored so good. Chicken, really nice spice on it. And then the fish, oh man, the fish had to be super fresh, lightly breaded, nicely fried. I really wanted to get seconds, but at the time we got food, there was another bus that came in, so you knew your time was ticking, but the food was outstanding. If we go back to Grand Cayman for time, I absolutely want to go to this location.
Okay.
I wrote down their name, gave them a Google review. Food was outstanding. You could see the photos on there. Huge plus. After that stop, we then went to the Wreck of 10 Sails. So Nick, our tour guide, was about a 15-minute walking tour in the area that had some wreckage from the wrecks, and then you could also look out into the ocean and see some of the ships still there. The idea behind it, real quick, was that the island went dark and basically they needed supplies because they were running out. So they flashed the lighthouse once, thinking that one ship would come in, crash, and then they would get all that supplies. But unfortunately, there were so many ships in the area. Once they saw the one light flash, more ships came and more ships crashed.
Oh,
so that's why it has the name of Wreck of 10 Sails.
Oh, wow.
They got all that supply. So that's the quick idea behind it. After that, we went to the highlight of this port adventure was Starfish Beach. So while we were driving there, they went over with us the rules for the starfish. We could handle all the starfish that we wanted, but they had to be kept in the water. You couldn't pick them out to take photos or videos or anything like that. And there were plenty of them in the area, all different sizes, different colors. Got some cool GoPro video of my daughter and my wife and myself picking up the starfish, putting it upside down, getting to see all the little tentacles in the middle. And then one other nice thing about being in that area was there was a bunch of really nice bathrooms and changing areas. So after we got out of the ocean, we got changed and then got back on the bus and headed to Tim Hortons. And then we made the last tender to make it back to the ship. With it being our first time in the tender, it had a lot of fun taking photos and videos of being on the small ship as we approached the Disney Treasure. It was fun to see the ship get smaller and bigger and getting to see the Treasure emblem on the side and fun stuff like that. It was cool to get to experience a tender. Now, if you didn't book a port adventure through Disney, you basically met in the Walt Disney Theater and they had their own basically round of tender boats taking them to and from the ship to port. So there would be some type of waiting time, but they were definitely running 3 or 4 tender boats.
Yeah. So it sounds like you would definitely recommend this excursion, huh?
Yes, it was a lot of fun. And Nick had so much knowledge. I was taking notes the whole time.
Yeah.
If you go on the website, my trip report will have all the little information, like I mentioned, about McDonald's and the banks and all that stuff about Grand Cayman, just in case people are curious out there. But the tour guide really made it outstanding. He even at the end, I asked him because he was Jamaican. I said, "I need your secret to good jerk chicken," and
Yeah.
he told us about different marinades and what he did. So it was super fun just to kind of get to meet them, get to know about their family, learn why they're doing this, and you could tell he did enjoy it.
That's awesome. All right, so tonight is Pirate Night. Tell everyone about Pirate Night, exactly what that is, what the menus look like, how dinner goes, and then what the actual pirate evening consists of.
Yep. It would be an understatement to say that I live for Pirate Night. I have a photo of probably our second sailing with my whole family, all of us dressed up and getting to see the fireworks and just hearing the Pirates of the Caribbean theme song.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that song. Seeing the show with the zip line and the characters going back and forth. I absolutely love Pirate Night. Pirate Night will be on all your Caribbean and Bahamian sailings. Based on what ship you are, you might have one show or two shows. So the Disney Wish, Treasure, they have two shows. One show earlier in the evening will be more of a character-friendly pirate show. And then later in the evening, around 10 o'clock, there will be a live band, a pirate parlay show that then ends with fireworks. As far as fireworks, it's always recommended to go up one deck above the pool deck and get on the starboard side for the best viewing. As far as other ships, the Magic Wonder, Dream and Fantasy, they have one show combined where they do the characters, interactions with the pirates, Captain Jack Sparrow, and then do the fireworks.
Mm-hmm.
As far as Pirate Night, a lot of people love to dress up. It's highly recommended, but not a requirement. So feel free to go absolutely crazy or just wear your regular clothes to dinner. No matter where you are eating that night, everyone has the same exact menu, the pirate menu, which is a seafood friendly menu. Does have some meat entrees too, but my wife's favorite is this Jack of Treasures that has a scallop, some shrimp, and a pasta dish. I like the appetizer of the crab cakes. There's a chilled mango soup that is really just delicious. And then this night I also tried a braised beef salad that kind of almost reminded me of a McRib, kind of the way the barbecue was done, super sweet, really paired well with the salad. And then the desserts, there's a Bananas in Paradise, which is basically a dessert and banana bread into one. And the ice cream is also outstanding that night. They have a rum cake that, if you really like the taste of rum, I highly recommend it. As far as the other thing that we tried for the first time this evening was we actually watched the fireworks from our veranda.
Okay.
If you are gonna do this, you have to be on the starboard side,
Okay.
and please make sure you close the door behind you, just in case there's any ashes or anything like that float by. Just please close your door. One thing that I thought was awesome. So earlier in the day, we watched the Good Morning Treasure, which is a 5-10 minute show that plays on your TV that talks about what's offering at the day. So they told us specifically at 10:33 the fireworks would go off. So basically 2 minutes before that, we went outside on the veranda and I could hear the music in the distance. And then as soon as the recording turned on, I felt like there was some magic and it was almost plumbed into the veranda. I could
That's
hear
awesome.
it so much better. I got a great video of it and it was a blast. My wife and I were like, this was amazing
Yeah.
to get to experience something like this. Really just took my breath away. The fireworks were like right there. You just looked up and the music, I was shocked. I thought for sure I would just be able to hear it in the distance, but somehow, I
Yeah.
don't know if there's some speakers that they put periodically at some of the verandas or maybe at the end, but it wound up being really an awesome experience that we never have experienced before because we'll typically go up on the pool deck and watch it there. But we tried it in our room that night. So if you are in your room and you don't want to miss it, head out, Hopefully all the time it's around 10:33. People can just remember that
Yeah.
time and head out and get to watch it.
That's perfect. Before I move on to the next day, I know earlier in the evening before the Pirate Night, you did go to the Broadway with the visiting artists, which I know, is it all the cruises that do this, or is it dependent on the length of cruise?
Yeah, it's typically on the length of cruise. I want to say 5 nights or more,
Okay.
but I don't remember really seeing it too often on a 5 night, to be honest. And so what this is, so Broadway visiting artists, on all your sailings, there is 1 to 2 actors from Broadway that are actually going to be in your Broadway shows. They're the Broadway visiting actors. And if your cruise is long enough, they will actually do their own private show. So this was the first time we got to experience this. There were 2 Broadway, one actor, one actress that was on Lion King on Broadway. One was Simba, one was Nala. So basically, for an hour, they talked about how they became Broadway stars, what they're currently working on, and then in between all that, they sang and did a couple of different shows, a couple of different songs, and some of them sang by themselves. Sometimes they did a duet. But one thing that I could tell was their voice was outstanding. You could just
Yeah.
you could hear the Broadway in them. It really was awesome. And it was in Walt Disney Theater, so they had a great stage. It was well worth the time to go and watch, especially if you at all enjoy Broadway type of stuff.
Yeah, so it sounds like a kind of extended Broadway artist series that they do during Festival of the Arts in the American Gardens Theater over there in the American Pavilion, which is just absolutely, yeah, breathtaking. Those artists are unbelievable. All right, we move on to day 5. Jamaica is your port. That's your stop today. What did this day look like for you guys?
Yep. So our idea for this day was to get off the ship and just explore the port area itself. There's a bunch of shops. There's a couple of things that we were looking to pick up, some jerk seasoning, some hot sauces, and with us being coffee people, we wanted to grab a couple bags of Green Mountain coffee for us at home and also for some friends and family. So we got off and explored the port area. It was really nice. They had probably about 15, 20 different shops right there once you get off the port and went through the little security area. And so it was nice because it wasn't like there were a lot of people that were trying to sell you to go on port excursions or anything like that that you might experience at other ports. It was a nice quiet area where we got to basically browse all the way around, get to see a couple different offerings. They were even roasting some coffee fresh right in there. And then one thing that I really liked about the port was they had a love locket wall. So basically there was I heart you in very large letters that had holes in it. So if you knew about it or if you happened to purchase a locket, you could go there and close the locket onto the wall and basically place a wish with your loved one, your family, anything like that. There's a plaque there describing exactly what that was and what that entailed. But what I liked most about it is I was able to go behind that wall and through the big heart, I was able to line up the funnels of the Disney ship. So I got a really cool photo to remember that port day by.
That's awesome. That's incredible. So what was the rest of it? Did you do any port excursions this day?
No, that one we did. We had one booked that we
That's
did
right.
a couple years ago. That was a fun beach break that had some awesome lunch included. But we decided to cancel that and just get to enjoy the ship and just walk around the port. Basically, just take it easy, an extra sea day. So once we got back on the ship, we did our usual where we walked around. We went up to the pool deck. That's when Sarah and Brooklyn went on the Aqua Mouse. Unfortunately, it broke down while they were in line. They were almost next in line. So they waited while I shouldn't say it broke down. Someone got stuck.
Okay.
So once someone got stuck, they have to then basically shut the water off, get those people out, restart the water, wait about 15, 20 minutes, and then it starts up again. So that took a lot longer than I think we wanted to. So while they were waiting in line and I saw that it wasn't moving, I went and got everyone some lunch. So that once they came back, we all ate some lunch. Brooklyn and I then headed back we went to Jumbo Suites, which I'll talk about in one sec. And then my wife, Sarah, went down and got a massage at the Senses Spa.
Okay.
One thing, a couple of cool tips about getting spa appointments on Port days is they typically will offer a discount because it's a port day. And also, if you have the Disney Visa credit card and you link it to your account that you're using to pay for stuff, you also will get a 10% discount in the Census Spa.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
not sure if that's on every offering, but at least make sure you ask
Yeah.
if you do have it linked.
Yeah.
As far as Jumbo Sweets, on the Treasure, Jumbo Sweets is a gelato themed ice cream and sweets shop that's themed to Zootopia.
Hmm.
So it's awesome. You walk in, there's a big Nick Wilder and what's the bunny rabbit's name?
Judy.
Judy,
Yep.
thank you. Sitting and enjoying an ice cream. Then also the little hamsters, there's a little section for them. Tons of different gelatos, tons of different little sundaes that they can make you. And there's also cupcakes, chocolates, anything that you want now. Everything that in there is a extra charge. Nothing in there is included if you did want ice cream. There is a soft serve ice cream machine that's on the pool deck that is included, but everything in Jumbo Suites is an additional charge. And a little fun fact with all the gelato shops on the ship, so they're on the Dream, Fantasy, Wish, Treasure, and eventually Destiny, is if there was something that you liked, but say you weren't hungry right then and there, you can actually place an order to get delivered to you at dinner.
Wow.
Or you wanted to surprise your child or your dog or your wife or your husband or anything. Maybe they really wanted that Rice Krispie treat, that cupcake, something like that. You can go there, place the order, you'll get a little ticket. And that ticket you'll then hand to your server at dinner and will magically appear at dessert time.
That's awesome. Incredible. That's another great tip right there. So what was dinner then that evening? Because now you've done all three of your dining. So how does that rotational then work when you're going for basically your second time at that location, correct?
Yep. Yep. With a 7-nighter, you'll eat at every restaurant twice and
Hmm.
one for a third time. Our third was 1923. But this night, and then each night your menu will be different. So even if you're dining in the same restaurant, you will never have a repeat menu.
Okay.
So this was our second night in Worlds of Marvel. This was a new show just for the Disney Treasure called Groot's Remix.
Okay.
A lot of things about this dinner was fun. There was good 80s music, but it wasn't too loud that it didn't really disturb you from eating. The show was cool because it was very interactive. So on all the tables, there's a quantum core and there's buttons on there. So they had trivia up on the screen and you would push the button that would correlate to the correct answer. It would glow green if you got it right, red if you got it wrong. There were no scores kept or any winners like that, but it was just a fun way to
Yeah.
interact while you're watching dinner and then waiting for the music to start. As far as some highlights from this meal, there was an ahi tuna appetizer that was delicious. And then for the entrees, we had beef Wellington, which was fantastic. I absolutely love beef Wellington. As far as desserts on here, we tried a couple new ones. We had a Marvel Sundae and then a double blueberry cheesecake, which was basically a cheesecake filling on a like a shortbread cookie. Quite different and delicious at the same time.
Yeah. That sounds wonderful. I guess we'll get to some of the other ones because I do want to make sure when we get to other days, but every evening you've got some sort of entertainment lined up. I know you guys took a lot of advantage of that. What was the entertainment offerings for that evening that you guys went to?
Yep. So right after dinner, there was a deck party called Mickey's Color Spin Dance Party. And basically, that was all the characters would come out. They would have their own song, and it would just be a fun dance party. It lasted about 45 minutes to maybe an hour. And that was a lot of fun. That was the second time we got to experience that. We experienced that on another sailing. It's still new. And so it's something different that a lot of repeat sailors might not get to experience.
Mm-hmm.
And then later that evening again was Beauty and the Beast or a ventriloquist. So we got to go and experience the ventriloquist. She was a lot of fun, brought up a lot of different kids and adults to interact on stage with some of the dummies that she had. And she had a really creepy old dummy that would haunt you in your nightmares or you'd see in horror movies. She definitely had one of those on stage. So it was fun to get to experience that also.
That's awesome. That sounds great. All right, so you're moving on to your next day. You're going to be heading to Castaway Cay, but the next day is a full sea day, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
And what did you guys do for this sea day?
Yep. So there was a couple really awesome entertainments or activities on board that we wanted to experience. So just a quick little pro tip is while you're going through the app every day, there is a empty heart that's to the right of all the activities. If you hit that and it fills up and becomes red, what that does is it saves it. And also if you have your notifications turned on your phone, you'll get a notification about 15 minutes before the activity starts. And the reason I like to do that is in the morning while I'm drinking my coffee, I'll go through the entire day and heart anything that I think myself, my wife, my daughter would want to even participate in. That way, I'll get a notification and I'll know right then and there, do I want to continue what we're doing or pivot and basically go to this other activity? Basically, my way of minimizing FOMO. So we get to go on or pick your adventure on the fly. So a couple things I heart for that day was the Jack Diaper Dash, which is an absolute blast.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Yeah, it's held in all of the Grand Hall atriums. And what that is, it is basically a race. And families will sign up their crawlers. If your baby walks, don't sign them up because if they take a step, they'll immediately get disqualified. But if your baby still crawls, you'll sign up, and then one parent or family member will line up the kid on one side, and then there will be a heat with 3 or 4 other kids and a parent or family member at the end. And whoever finishes first, they'll collect all the winners and then run one heat at the end. That's fun because they'll interact with the babies before. So they'll ask the parents the favorite food, where they're from, favorite nap time or stuffy. And so they build them up like they're a sports player and
That's awesome.
has a little profile on them. So you get to cheer them on. There's music going on. It's a lot of fun. It's a do not miss if you see it on and you have time to get to go and experience that.
Yeah.
So that's the Jack Diaper Dash. And then the second entertainment or onboard activity that I really wanted to experience was called the Encanto Celebration. We have not experienced that on any of the other ships, so I definitely wanted to flag this. So this was done in Sarabi. It started with a arts and craft where you got some pipe cleaners and had some directions how to make a butterfly. After that, the host did a little trivia asking questions in relation to Encanto, the movie. And then there were about 3 songs that they asked for all the kids to come up on stage to sing the song, interact, play some drums. They did Luisa's song where she's flexing pressure. So all the kids went to the middle of the stage and flexed. And it really was awesome. In the last song, they started a Congo line. And yes, spoiler here, Maribel and Bruno came out and joined us in the Congo line, finished out the song, and then actually all the kids were able to form a line and go up on stage, meet those characters, and get some photos. I was really blown away by how well this activity was put together. I related it to a core memory from like Inside Out, something I'm always going to remember. The host and the cruise director was there at the end. I thanked them. I said this was an outstanding activity that I think if it's ever offered on a cruise, I would absolutely go again. Really was something that just made that day magical.
So this was the day you did do the Adventure Tea Party, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Talk about that some.
On Disney sailings, they'll offer what's known as a royal tea. Each ship will have a kind of themed or named different. So on the Dream and Fantasy, it's called the Royal Court Tea. On the Wish, it's called Olaf's Royal Picnic. And on the Treasure, it's called Adventure Tea with Royalty. Now, this is an additional charge. It is not cheap, and it is a hard to book offering, meaning that it does sell out most of the time or almost all the time on the sailings. One thing that is different with this is that you are required to have a child of the age between 3 and 12 in order to participate in it. So if it was just my wife and I, we could not try to buy a ticket for any of the royalties, with my daughter being 9 and her wanting to participate in it is something that I booked. So this
Okay.
was something that earlier sailings in the year, it wasn't quite offered yet. I was starting to hear some rumbles about in February. And then I saw one day someone posted. I immediately went to the website and booked it. And I am super glad that I did. So we have experienced the Royal Court Tea on the Dream, and we did Olaf's Royal Picnic on the Wish. Out of those two, I really loved Olaf's Royal Picnic. The
Okay.
interaction with Olaf, the food offering, the show, it was really well worth it. If I had to pick between one of the Royal Court or Olaf's, I would definitely go hands down Olaf's all the time.
Okay.
So I wanted to see where this one fit. So we what was nice was, because this is 7 night sailing, was actually offered twice. We got the one on today on the sea day. The other one was offered on Falmouth, Jamaica's port day. So at a certain time, we all met in the Grand Hall, and Sage and Coriander came out and started talking to us about the adventure that we were going to go on. Probably about 30 to 35 people. We all met in the Grand Hall area, and then we headed to 1923. On the other ships, it would be held in Arendelle on the Wish, or Royal Court or Royal Plaza, which is the restaurants right off the atrium.
Okay.
So when we got in there, we all sat down. Based on the size of your party, you either had your own table or you sat with another family. So we sat with another family because we were a party of 3. And at the table, they had a bunch of offerings or little trinkets for the kids. So Brooklyn got a signature book. She got a compass, a shoulder pal Pascal, a shawl, a book bag, and
Wow.
more. And then so they start serving some tea, basically cold tea, and then the food comes out. So there's a couple different food stacks for each family. So we had basically a savory one that had sandwiches, and then like a dessert one that had a bunch of different desserts. Now, of note, if you do have any allergies, they do message you before early on in the sailing to please let them know, and they will modify. So the family we were with, the mom had some allergies. So not only did they have their towers, she was getting her own food also. So they will adjust the offerings based on the allergies, just FYI. So don't want to spoil the whole thing, but basically you had 3 different princesses that came in and told their story. And basically you had an empty storybook that you had to fill in based on going on an adventure with that princess. And Sage and Coriander would also interact. And once the storybook was filled in, it popped up and you could tell it was filled. Once all 3 princesses went through, they then came around to everyone's table. That was the autograph book came into play. You got to sign. And then once that was done, as the tables left, there was a photo opportunity on the way out, which is the same in all the royalty offerings. So I highly recommend you stop, because later on in your room, a large photo in a binder will show up courtesy of the tea offering. So make sure you stop there so that you'll get that little memento to bring home. So overall, this was by far my favorite royalty that we got to experience. I thought the show that it involved, the food, really just put together very well. Sage and Coriander were some awesome highlights. We were doing stuff with our arms, acting like we were on a flying carpet, acting like we were a tree in Rapunzel's. It was just so interactive. If you have a child between 3 and 12, this sounds like something that you'd be interested in. I highly recommend trying to see if you could get it on your booking window. And if it's filled up on your booking window, come back every day and look.
Mhm.
Come back every day. You never know when people are going to drop something or more is added. Always come back. Don't think just because it's not there, you're never going to get it. You got to be persistent,
Yeah.
is the word I would use with the Disney Cruise Line Navigator app.
Yeah. No, it sounds absolutely incredible. Definitely something you don't want to miss if you have kids in those age ranges. Tonight, that night's dinner was your second visit to Plaza del Coco. What do the changes look like compared to the first night that you went? Menu, is the show the same?
So the show is different.
Okay.
This is themed to Dia de los Muertos celebration. So they're dressed up as skeletons, same band, same actors. But what was really nice was the last song we all sang together. I looked it up. It was the Proud Coranzono or something like that. I don't probably butchering the name. Sorry about that. But it was one of the big songs in Coco, and
Hmm.
everyone was up singing it. It was just an absolute blast, like a great way to end the evening. The food here I actually thought was by far the best menu and the best food of the entire sailing. This night started off with a beef empanada, which is different than the beef empanada that you're served on embarkation day if you do the sit down lunch. They had this awesome little pico de gallo that was salty that paired very well with the empanada. I actually put it in it to eat it. The soups here were actually very good. There was a black bean soup and a avocado soup. As far as entrees, the sea bass was my highlight. It was a really nice adobe spiced sea bass. There was a carnitas that you made your own tacos. You got flour tortillas and all the little accoutrements. And then my wife enjoyed the ribeye, just a really great cut, good seasoning. Oh, lastly, the other one, the other appetizer I forgot to mention, there was a red chicken enchilada. Oh, just absolutely delicious. The cheese, the spice inside, the with the chicken, the red sauce. Out as soon as it came out, I looked at Sarah and I said, "This is going to be probably the best appetizer or food we eat in this entire sailing." And
Yeah.
hands down, it was right. You got two massive enchiladas. It could have easily been a dinner,
Oh,
but it was the best probably thing I ate during the entire sailing. As far as the desserts that night, that definitely was another highlight. Of course, we had the churros. Super excited. It was fun little fact. So early on the Wish, when they in 1923 they had the churros, they were very long,
hmm.
and I felt like they got super dry and super hard. So there was a couple sailings in between on the Wish. We stopped ordering them. Then on one random one, we ordered them again. I'm like, let's see. So they then started serving these bite-sized ones, smaller, and they made a huge difference.
Okay.
They were warm, not nearly as hard, and they tasted so much better. So I was excited. It's the same exact churros with a little different dipping sauce. I've also heard on other podcasts some people like to bring some of them back to their room and enjoy it the next morning with their coffee. Ours did not leave the restaurant because they were too delicious. Also, this night they had a cappuccino creme brulee cheesecake with an awesome combination, absolutely delicious. And then the Sunday that night was really cool. It was a leche ice cream flavor with like fried tortillas on top. Really good. But that was absolutely the best meal during the whole entire sailing. And then also the music. It was just so much fun to be involved and singing that song. Arendelle does the same thing where Oaken and Christoph do a duet that everyone gets to sing. It's a famous Frozen song. And they go around with a fake mic and you sing. And I felt like this was Plaza de Coco's version of that.
Okay. So you have entertainment obviously at dinner, but what additional entertainment did you guys do that evening? Did you have a show or something that night?
That night was I think that night we went to Aladdin Retold.
Okay.
So one thing that was really awesome during this sailing is, and all the sailings on the Disney Treasure is Sage and Coriander are improv actors that will do basically improv of Disney movies. So there's Choose Your Event, no, Choose Wisely,
Hmm.
which is a retheming of the Indiana Jones. There's Aladdin, Stories from the Lamp, Aladdin Retold, where both of them are basically it's in the grand hall on the stage there, and both of them are basically all the characters in the movie, and you go through the entire movie with props and fun little tidbits that they add to it. So those are, and then also another option with Sage and Coriander is the Jungle Cruise, which is basically a a contest where you'll select what skipper's boat you want to be in. And there's all these different challenges that you do to get points and to see who finishes first. Also, you get to see the backside of water in the middle of Grand Hall, which is a lot of fun and a little homage to the Jungle Cruise.
Yeah.
So one thing that I really liked about the retold Aladdin was that after Sage and Coriander actually came back out for photos and to get to interact with us. We've been on the cruise basically 6 nights now, seeing them almost every day, absolutely enjoying everything that they're putting on. They put their heart and soul into everything that they do. Huge cast members that you get to interact with. And I thought it was awesome that they came back and we actually got to spend time and talk to them. So we waited in line. My daughter went up there and got a photo. She was wearing, at that time, she wore a Jasmine costume. So it was super cute to see them interact. And then while waiting in line, I asked if I could get a photo. My daughter was like, "No, Daddy, don't go up there. It's for kids." I'm like, "Okay, fine." So when she was done, my wife spoke up and asked, "Hey, do you think my husband can get a photo with you guys?" Of course, they said yes. So I came up on there. So sage and coriander are spices. So they gave me the homage. My spice name was oregano for the photo. I was wearing some of my DCL Cruising Dad hats and polos. So they asked me what that was about. So we talked about that for a little bit. But it was so great to kind of get to interact and also just thank them. The amount of work and effort that they put in and day out was awesome to get to be so close and have that little memory to bring home.
Yeah, that is very cool. Yeah, the work that they put in, you're right. It's unbelievable. And the way they're able to keep everybody entertained and on schedule and all throughout that entire cruise. So we're going to move into your last full day. It's usually my favorite day of the cruises that we've been on, stopping at Castaway Cay. What does your Castaway Cay day look like? What do you guys like to get into when you're there?
Yep. On most of the sailings, Castaway starts with a very special day, and that is Mickey Churro's waffle.
Yes.
So that is probably my hands down favorite breakfast that's offered on any of our sailings. It's in Marceline Market. It's actually offered at the kids stand, not at the first kind of breakfast buffet or nook that you go to. So make sure you go to the kids area, and it's a super sweet dessert. Don't get me wrong. You don't need syrup. Some people do put the strawberry compote on it, but I'll get a big plate of those, bring them back to the room, and we'll all enjoy them hot, sugary, just deliciousness. A great way to start the day. Castaway, we will get off. One thing that we did for this sailing was pre-booked the photo package, the unlimited photo package. With the sailing being so many nights, I thought there would be a lot of great opportunities for photos, which there are. Every night in the Grand Hall, there are photo opportunities, whether they're with the captain, with magic shots, with special theming. Some nights it's Haunted Mansion, photos, magic shots with Aladdin, etc. There is tons and tons of photo opportunities on this sailing that I highly recommend buying by pre-booking the unlimited photo package. By pre-booking it, you save about $50. It is $295 versus $350. But also know, anytime you book the unlimited package, if you feel like you're not getting your money's worth, before the last night, you have a couple options. First and foremost, if you feel like you haven't got any photos and it's not worth it, you could always cancel and Disney will give you a refund. You could also downgrade. So let's say you found 10 photos you want. You could downgrade to the 10 photo package and they will give you a refund of the difference. So highly recommend to book it. Also, a lot of people always ask, "Oh, Chris, it's sold out on day one, and I buy the unlimited photo package on day two. What does that mean?" That means nothing. The unlimited photo package is from the second you get on the ship until the second you get off. So don't feel like when you're booking it, if it's only offered on day 2 or 3, that means it's going to start that day. No, it starts as soon as you get on the ship. With us buying the photo package, I wanted to get a couple extra shots on Castaway. They have some great photos of the back of the ship with the characters and a cool little Castaway sign. Also, Captain Jack Sparrow being on Castaway, and some of the characters being in special costumes that's only offered on Castaway. While we were walking off the ship, we definitely took our time and got some extra photos to have some memories by.
That's awesome.
Once we're on Castaway with Brooklyn, we'll go to one of the two family beaches. It's still called a family beach no matter where it is, but it's basically broken up into two areas. The first area is going to have a obstacle course out in the water, a climbing apparatus. The second area is going to have Pelican Plunge, which is basically two water slides that you have to swim out to get on. So basically, we'll either stop at one or the other, see if there's some hammocks that are open or just get some covered chairs. And then with Brooklyn, she is a water baby, so we're basically in the water until lunchtime. In the previous times, we've also tried some of the snorkeling and tried to find some of the hidden Disney treasures that they've sunk in the snorkeling lagoon area. Or we'll basically just be out there swimming around and then making some sand castles with some of the cups that we'll take from Cookies or Cookies to Barbecue.
Yeah. So yeah, tell people about the included lunch on Castaway Cay and what that's like.
Yep. So there's three places to eat. Serenity Bay, which is the adult 18 plus older, has a Serenity Bay barbecue, which has the same food that I'll mention with Cookies and Cookies too, but they have an additional steak that you can enjoy there. As far as Cookies and Cookies 2 barbecue, it's the same thing where it's hot dogs, hamburgers, ribs, some chicken, a fish dish. They'll have some pasta salads. Basically, it's like your barbecue food. They'll have some potato chips, some corn. They'll have some desserts where they'll have a really big chocolate chip cookie that if you like ice cream sandwiches.
Yes.
My daughter told me that the soft serve on the ice cream on Castaway is lights out, way better than any of the soft serve on the ship. And I would believe her opinion because she eats her weight in soft serve ice cream during any cruise that we go on.
Me
So
too.
that's a
Me too.
great little dessert. And the food is unlimited. It's basically open, I believe, from 11:30 to 2 or 2:30. So go grab some food, grab a table. Some people also bring the food back with them to the beach and eat it on there. A couple different options. If you have food allergies, you will order what you eat on Castaway the day before at dinner. They'll give you a allergy-friendly menu, and then you will go to, I'm not sure if it's Cookies or Cookies too. They'll have an allergy section that you'll pick your food up from.
Perfect.
But they also have lots of cut up fresh fruit. I mentioned the soft serve, and they'll have all the soda areas, just like on the ship, also to get your beverages.
Yeah.
So lunch is great. It's a lot of fun. Good barbecue food. I'm a huge fan of the cheeseburger, and it's very consistent. You know what you're going to get all the time while you're there.
Yeah. So it's going to be your last night. It's always the saddest night, but what do you guys do and what were the offerings that evening to make the most of that final night on the treasure?
Yep. There were two things that I highlighted. One was when we got back a little early because I wanted to partake in the Jungle Cruise activity in the Grand Hall, which I talked about a couple minutes ago. Was you got to pick your skipper, do some fun tasks, and see what ship made it to the end first. And that was run by Sage and Coriander. And then Beauty and the Beast that night was the Broadway show that we went and got to experience. It's really hard having that night with the Broadway show and knowing we need to pack up because if you want Disney to basically take your luggage off for you, their bags have to be packed and outside your room and tagged before 10 o'clock. If you're concierge, I believe it's before midnight. So make sure you keep any clothes you need for the next day, medicine, makeup, etc., like that in a day bag versus putting it all in your checked bag. So Beauty and the Beast is probably my favorite Broadway show on Disney Cruise Line. It's themed a little more to not the cartoon, the
live action
Beauty and the Beast. Okay. So it really, they do an excellent job. The costumes, the music, I've always said, I think it's my favorite one on all the Disney Cruise Line ships.
Yeah.
So after that, we head back to the night. Actually, after that, we went to trivia. So this was I think the last trivia offered. It was a Disney Cruise Line trivia, which I thought was great for me. Unfortunately, I tied for second with 18 correct. You never know what
Yeah.
score it's going to take to get a medal, but it was a lot of fun. And there were two questions I tripped up on. I could not remember which port the Wonder went out of for the first time a couple years ago. And as soon as they said it, I was like, oh, of course, because
Yeah.
it's got Tiana's. Of course, it was New Orleans. I just it couldn't populate in my brain, and
Yeah.
that would have tied first. But so the trivia is a ton of fun. There were a lot of people there. It was in Triton's Lounge, which is basically a small lounge. It really is nothing offered in there besides karaoke, trivias. They did a meet and greet for DVC club, stuff like that. It's a fun little small area.
Yeah. In addition to making sure that you have your luggage packed and out by 10 p.m. the night before so they can take it off, making sure you have stuff in your carry-on, what other tips do you have possibly for that last day that you unfortunately got to get off the ship? What are options for kind of breakfast? Because I know you got to get off super early. They don't let you hang around at all.
Yeah, that is sadly correct. Based on your dining, whether it's 5:45 or 8:15, you'll be assigned a breakfast time. I believe I want to say it's 6:30 and maybe 8 roughly. And where you eat your last night is the same restaurant you will eat the next morning. For us, it was 1923, then we would eat in 1923. Now, we have a tradition where we actually don't ever make it to that morning's breakfast. It's just way too early.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be out of your rooms by 8. So at 8 o'clock, we actually head up to Marceline Market or Cabanas based on what ship we're on, and they serve breakfast until 8:30. It's not the same offerings that you've had during your sailings, but it's still a good enough breakfast to sadly cry it away while you get ready to listen for your luggage tag to get off the ship. So those are some of our traditions for breakfast. I mentioned earlier about the coffee carafe. If you're a huge coffee fan, because there's no room service in the morning or any continental breakfast, and you want coffee in the room while you're getting ready to leave your stateroom, order a coffee carafe the night before. Make sure it's sealed. Leave it out, and then put your creamer or milk in the little mini fridge, and your coffee will be warm in the morning. Some other tips and tricks, like I said, just make sure you pack clothes for the next day. There's a good amount of people that wound up get off the ship with their pajamas because they forgot to pack clothes. Anything that you need in the morning, toothbrush, etc. Just make sure you leave it there and have a bag for it to be so you carry on. And then I think they pretty much will kick you off by 9:30. I think that's the
Yeah.
last call to get off the ship. If you don't want Disney Cruise Line to take your luggage off and you want to keep everything, you have a couple options. You have express walk-off, which basically is as soon as the ship clears customs, you could get off the ship. That line will form in the Grand Hall or the atrium. Get in line, you'll be the first couple of people off. You could also just keep your luggage and schlep it with you to get off the ship. If you don't want to pack, you're just going to be responsible carrying it down the stairs, because unfortunately the elevators are going to be quite busy.
Yes.
So you might be waiting a good amount of time if you need to use the elevators. Now, a lot of times people will leave their luggage outside the breakfast, so it is safe there. So feel free, you can bring it to breakfast, because once you leave your room, you cannot go back to your room.
Yeah.
The last thing that I've really enjoyed sailing out of Port Canaveral is they now have facial recognition. So if you have a passport, which I always highly recommend whenever leaving the country to have a passport, makes getting back in much, much easier. You basically, before you get on the ship in Port Canaveral, they'll take a photo or have the photo of you. As you get off, there'll be a passport line. You basically just get in line. You don't even have to take out any documentations. They snap a photo of you. Those photos match, and you just continue walking on. It literally takes you 5-10 minutes, as long as the line's not too long, to get through customs now.
Yeah. Man, thank you so much. We've learned so much. And I got to say, everybody go out to his website, because what we covered isn't even all of the notes and everything that you have and that you provide for people. One big question I have is, how do you balance keeping track of everything, taking all these incredible notes, and still enjoying the trip where you're not staring at something the whole time? What's your process for documenting all this during a trip.
Yep. So first, I have to give kudos to my wife, my daughter, and my son Jake when he travels with us to just say thank you. They always allow me to stop and take the photos of the food before we eat and stuff like that. And then honestly, with all the cruises, I'll make a to-do list of all the restaurants, all the lounges, the pools, stuff that I want to document. And in the past, I've gone during the day, and this time I actually got up at 4 o'clock one morning, and I basically got almost everything done.
Yeah.
I basically was an hour and a half sweating, running around the ship, getting all my photos, checking stuff off. And that way I got to really just enjoy family time. And then when we get back to the room each night, I have a little DCL notebook that I'll talk about what we went through throughout the day, ask Brooklyn, ask Sarah their tips and their pros, and add that to the notebook. And then this was probably my first trip report that I really spent time to type up and add to the website, have it all broken down by per day, and then hyperlinks throughout the trip report to places on the website to see the photos, see the restaurants, see the lounges, see the menus. So I try to minimize any of the away from family time, because it is this whole website, all this DCL Cruising Dad stuff is a passion project of mine, but the cruises is what makes the memories that I'll never forget. I love looking at photos on past sailings. One of my Christmas presents a couple of years ago is one of those picture frames that rotate photos that sits right on my desk, that I have so many glorious photos of my kids and my wife and I, just so many smiles, so many memories. So yeah, there is a good amount of planning that I do to maximize family and wifey time versus photos, videos, stuff like that. And there'll be times where we have future cruises and I'll split stuff in half. Like I only have half of Lookout done because we've only been to Lookout once. And I was like, you know what? I'm loving this day. I'll get photos on a future sailing. It's not a priority. It's the smiles and the memories. So I do my best to balance stuff out and go from there. I think I maximize what I do get photos of to share with everyone. I think it's something that they could look at before they go on their sailing to either learn or prepare, or really the idea behind all that I do is I want you to learn something to make your sailing a little more magical.
Yeah, man, I love it. And you're doing an incredible job. And Disney cruisers are very lucky to have you. Mention your website again, and then anywhere on social people can find you or how they can get in touch with you.
Yep. So the website DCL Cruising Dad is broken down into a couple different ways. We have menus with all the food photos. We have first timers, basic information, and then all the ships themselves have their own individual pages and all that's offered as far as foods, shows, pools, etc. On the socials, you could find me at DCL Cruising Dad on basically anywhere and everywhere. I like to do DCL history posts and anything that goes on with the news and little short videos. And then lastly, I do have a YouTube channel, DCL Cruising Dad 2022. And those playlists are broken down by the ships, and each ship has probably about 50 videos, each thing individually, versus I find that my YouTube channel is more informational than more of a storytelling per se.
Yeah, man, everybody make sure you go out, follow, subscribe, check out the website. Thank you so much again for joining me. I know I look forward to following along on all your future cruises. So thank you again for coming on Main Street Magic.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure, and it was great to actually see you and interact.
You too. A big thank you to Chris from DCL Cruising Dad for joining me today and sharing so many awesome details from his Disney treasure sailing. If you're ready to cruise into the magic, let MEI-Travel help you book the perfect Disney Cruise Line vacation. From tropical destinations to onboard enchantment, it's more than a vacation, it's an unforgettable adventure at sea. Now, whether you're a first-time sailor or a Castaway Club Pearl Pro, Amy at MEI-Travel handles every detail so you can focus on the fun. Visit mainstmagic.com/travel and let the magic set sail. Now, if you enjoyed today's episode, please make sure to subscribe so you don't miss new episodes every Tuesday and Friday. And if you have a moment, we would love for you to leave us a rating and review. It really does help the show grow. That's all we've got, and we'll see you real soon.
Jeremy and Rhonda are more than a little fond of Disney World, so they made this podcast to share it all with you. Reports and resorts, top 10 lists of all sorts, Main Street Magic's bringing it home for you.